Dixon, and we've prepared for you a brief presentation today at the request of Matt Fannin regarding the potential for the Vortex Dome. Uh, the concept that my partner Howard Espin and I have is that the Vortex Dome should actually become the hub for teacher development and student experience for 21st century learning in a joyful fashion. And so this little presentation is just going to explain why we think that should happen. As we all know, education is in a tremendous flux right now. Um, there are new ways to approach learning, new exciting ways to bring joy to every person, every student who wants to learn. And yet it's hard in the present context, and to a large extent because we still work even in buildings that have an approach that's very almost pre-early industrial. And so that's the power we think that the Vortex Dome has. Because it has such a joyful approach and triggers such complete sensory awareness of new possibilities, we feel that it can be the ideal place to help trigger thoughts about how you can learn differently in the 21st century. And we think that the Dome could be the place where teachers and students come and experience that and then take that approach back to the classroom with the tools and resources that we provide. And then share that learning, not just in their classroom or with their families, but actually worldwide. So the way we see this could happen would be in 3 stages. In the first stage, we would introduce teachers to the Dome by bringing them there for a professional development session. The session itself is not to focus necessarily on the Dome. The Dome will be used as the tool to focus on 21st century teaching. It would include a fascinating look at the various brain science research supports which show how powerful the 21st century approach to learning can be. And it would also give them tools they could take back to the classroom and use immediately to start to address those daily concerns that they have, in particularly related to the Common Core. The real value, though, is that teachers would become tremendously excited. And I know from my career as a teacher and working with teachers, they would not be able to wait to bring their classes back to the Dome, to have that same experience, but with the added benefit of making sure they were able to hit those curriculum goals that they have laid out for them. So what would happen is once they had this experience, they would be contacted and we would keep in touch with them with newsletters and resources about the exciting tools that they learned to use at the Vortex Dome and kind of prepping them for their return. And then indeed they would return. They would come back with their classes, and the kids would have this tremendous experiential session where maybe one of the great educational videos that Vortex Immersion has can be shown, but then the curriculum link can be made and they can be challenged to do a project which could return to the Dome and actually perhaps be shown in the Dome or showcased in the Dome. And so they would leave very excited about going back and studying that varied curriculum that sometimes is so challenging for kids, but with all of these 21st century tools that we're providing to teachers. And so what we would want to do in the same way as we did earlier would be to stay in contact, but actually to put as much power into the hands of the students as possible. So the idea of a KidTube thing where kids could talk about the exciting things they're doing and demonstrate the exciting things they're doing post the Dome visit. And also we'd be able to support their projects with resources and things like that, but they would always be kind of linked back into the Dome and this whole idea of the Dome as the great metaphor for 21st century learning. And then finally, groups of students could return and have this celebration of joyful learning where the projects that they created were somehow showcased at the Dome and bringing in community and media support. This could be a wonderful time to share how powerful the Dome can be for learning. At the same time, it could be the launch of an international Dome project so that students who have created things who perhaps move up through certain levels, and the best ones get to be showcased in other domes around the world or in planetariums or with other connections. We're not completely sure where that could go, but the idea would be this is a way that you can reach out further. So really, what we envision is using the Vortex Dome not as the place where you come and have a great experience alone, but actually as the metaphor for 21st century learning. The benefits would be that the dome would be used daily by schools. There could be revenue generation on many different levels. There would be increased community use because the teachers and students who have this wonderful experience would then be able to take that back to their families and communities, and there would be increased interest in people coming and experiencing what happens at the dome. As well, the brand, if you will, of the Vortex Dome would be expanded worldwide, particularly from these projects. And most importantly, there would be a real growth in terms of joyful learning, the kind of learning that we know, particularly from the neuroscience research, is absolutely necessary for our students to reach the potential that they need to be able to reach in the 21st century. So that's our presentation, and if you're interested in finding out more or discussing it more, we'd love to do that. We feel really confident that we could help to implement something like this because, in essence, it's what we have been doing the past 5 years with 50, 60,000 students and teachers up in Canada, but also in places in the United States as well. So we think this is a tremendous potential for taking the dome and having it set into a context that perhaps it hasn't moved into as much yet, but has tremendous potential for growth and good purpose in the future. My name's Ed Dixon. Thanks for listening.